Assalamu alaikum, peace and blessings. You're tuned in to the Sajdah Saturday Morning Coffee Talks, where we talk about life, love, and business.
O Allah, guide me among those whom Thou hast guided thee right, and preserve me among those whom Thou hast preserved, and befriend me among those whom Thou hast befriended. Bless me in whatsoever Thou dost grant me, and deliver me from the evil of what Thou hast judged. Surely Thou judges, and none can judge against Thee, and he whom Thou befriendest is not disgraced. Blessed art Thou, O Lord, and exalted be Thee above what they set up besides Thee. I bear witness, nothing deserves to be served besides Thee, and I bear witness that Muhammad is Thy servant and apostle. Amen.
Peace and blessings, family. Assalamu alaikum. I'm Sajdah Wendy Muhammad, and y'all know that I have been on a mission to introduce to you these wonderful emerging new market leaders and industry disruptors from the Mo Today Black Muslim Business Directory. And so I'm working on new platforms and other ways to get the word out there about you. So we picked 19 shows to test out on our new Roku network called Mo Today. So if you have Roku TV, and if you bought a TV in the last 2 years, they're all equipped with Roku at this point. Go out there and add the Mind of an Entrepreneur show to your channel list. The icon's gonna be Mo Today, and you should see it right here in the corner. And get access to the channel, and you will start to see some of our wonderful shows that are listed up here on our new Roku channel. This is just a little tester. Let's see if y'all like it. Let me know in the chat what you think, and go out there and add the channel to your Roku lineup. Let me show you what it looks like to your Roku lineup. Let's see, it'll look like that. There it is. Peace and blessings. Assalamu alaikum, family, and welcome to the Sajdah Saturday Morning Coffee Talks, where we talk about life, love, and business. First thing I want you to do is make sure that you like and subscribe to the channel. We're trying to get up to 1,000 followers. And so that's the recent goal, right? Grab your tea, grab your coffee. Today I got me some Mandela Masala Chai tea from my sister, Sunyata Amin in DC. Her teas are actually unbeatable. So now I'm between Kay's coffee, and then Sunyata's Calabash tea and tonic. So anyway, sit back, tune in, get your tea. We got a word from a couple of our sponsors, and we'll be right back. Got a good thing to talk to y'all about today. Stay tuned.
Enjoying precious moments with family and friends is what the holidays are all about. Taking care of your health is also important. Peripheral artery disease, also known as PAD, is a serious medical condition affecting 8.5 million American adults. If you're experiencing leg pain, leg swelling, or difficulty exercising, then you may have PAD. PAD can put you at a risk of a heart attack or stroke. If you or a loved one has any of these symptoms, call today or visit mivcmd.com for more information.
You belong to yourself. You're an independent people, created from the nation of free people. Yes, sir. You don't need to go nowhere but to yourself. Yes, sir. There will be a great separation. Yes, sir. So I said, it is on now.
The college is meant to prepare you for your future. That the time dictates that if we don't do something for ourselves as a people, we will be destroyed. And the aim of the enemy right now is to take us out.
We have God with us. We have Him as our guide. Yes, sir. We don't have to stand around here and ask the question, what must be done? Yes, sir. Get up and let's go and do something. Yes, sir. We cannot sit down. We cannot lay down. Yes, sir. We must get up. Yes, sir. And go to work.
Do you know what real joy is in life? Visioning something and bringing it into reality. That's real joy. Do you know what the next step in joy is? Behold how good and how pleasant it is for brethren to dwell in unity.
Tonight, you need to fasten your seatbelts. We're going to hear from some of the greatest minds in the world. I don't know about you, but I'm tired of trusting our future and the future of our children into the hands of those who don't love us. I believe we need to revitalize black leadership.
Assalamu alaikum. Peace be unto you, grand rising. Welcome to the Sajdah Saturday morning coffee talks, where we talk about life, love, and business. I just love that video. I really could look at it again, but I won't put y'all through that. But I just love it. So we're fireside today. I decided to just, it's so cold and dreary. It just a good fire just brings some good vibrations into the room and into the environment. I want to talk today about these pesky New Year's resolutions. I've gotten to the point where I am anti New Year's resolution. I see all of my colleagues and friends, a lot of them are business coaches and entrepreneurs, and all they're talking about is New Year's resolutions, New Year's resolutions, blah, 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 blah. It's one thing to set a goal, right, for your business. That's one thing. We set a goal for our business or ourselves. But the way we package this New Year's resolution thing, 9 times out of 10, they never work. Most of us set out, we go, okay, I'm setting 10 New Year's resolution, and we never make it. So I think I told you guys right before the New Year's, I said, let's do this. Let's talk about what we have to do to renew ourselves and reinvigorate ourselves, reinvent ourselves for the New Year so that we manifest differently, right? So we have to change the way we think, change our mindset. Thought shapes matter. We have to think about that kind of thing. And so I like going that approach. I also like going the approach of where you start to think different thoughts, where you go through, take yourself through an exercise and you figure out, what do I need to think? What is the motivational thought pattern for me that's going to make me move in 2023? And it's different for everybody, right? Some people don't like being controlled. So when they think about how they're in a situation, whether it's on their job or in a relationship where they're being controlled, and they don't like that. And so that becomes motivation to do something different. Some people just don't like somebody telling them that they can't do something. And so that becomes the motivation. So whatever that conversation needs to be, whatever conversation you need to have with yourself, you should write that down. And that becomes your goal. For me, I live my life off of vibration, right? Thoughts and vibration. Thoughts shape matter. And then what I work to do is try to figure out who I need to be, how I need to think, and how I need to go inside of myself and reproduce myself in order to be something different so that I vibrate differently and attract differently. So it's just that simple for me. But a lot of you tune in because you know that I give away things that have worked for me. What has worked for me is my endurance. I'm like a marathon runner when it comes to goals and things that I believe are divinely for me. I will keep going and keep running and keep pushing, because I just firmly believe Psalms 23, somebody put that in the chat, that there is a table prepared for me. I believe that history is written in advance and that I'm walking into it. I believe that I am the prayers of my ancestors. I believe that if I love God the way that I do, that I have to love him too much to give up. I just believe that. And I know it like I know it, like I know it. I know it like I'm sitting down here in front of this fireplace. And then that's how I move. And then I start to formulate my emotions and my vision and everything around it. Because oftentimes when you're going into these challenging or difficult situations, you got to figure out what your mindset needs to be. The technical stuff, 9 times out of 10, if you're right up against the door of it, you already got that down. So I think what happens is in the corporate world, in the conquester's mental toolbox, the idea is to go and get more technical. Keep getting more technical. Go back to school. Do more, because we believe that the more technical we are, the more we'll earn. And that is just not necessarily the case. Because the technical is not going to give you your endurance. It's not going to give you the right vibration. It's not going to give you the right mindset. It's just not going to do that. So I'm going to play a little clip. I'm going to play it 2-3 times from our beloved, the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, about endurance. I'm going to play it like 3 times. It's only like 40 seconds. That way it just kind of gets ingrained. Before we do that, I want to welcome everybody. Make sure you like and subscribe to the channel. I see y'all in the chat. The Breakfast from Burnout podcast. Welcome. Thank you for coming over to the Sajdah Saturday Morning Coffee Talk. Maybe I have to come over to the Breakfast Burnout podcast as well. Thank you so much for that support. Wa alaikum salam. Sister Alita, wa alaikum salam, family. Let me put these up so people can see y'all. Sister Alita, wa alaikum salam, family. Happy New Year to you too. Happy New Year, Mom. Let's see. Wa alaikum salam. Good morning, Grand Rising, Brother Lamont. Sister Roxanne Muhammad, assalamu alaikum. Oh, thank you, sis. I'm glad you like the colors. Let me tell you what's so bad as a woman. I was moving stuff around in my closet and I was like, oh, this is cute. Felt like I went shopping. Anyway, so we're going to do that because the idea that I want you all to remember is to make absolute certain that you have the endurance. You can't give up. See, people who are short-sighted and they need money quick and they're panicking because they don't have it, they don't feel like they have time to work on themselves, or they don't feel like there's a correlation between who they are and what's happening in their life. So that vibrational connection doesn't make sense to me. I was doing some metaphysical studying this weekend. There was a philosopher who was talking about, almost similar to Brother Jabril, closing the gap. And the gap between where you are and what you want. There's a distance there. You can either get there through time, right? Meaning you just keep working and making however much you're making an hour and letting time go by and hoping that over the course of time that you get there. So you can do it by time. You can do it by physicality, like you can muscle your way there, or you can vibrate your way there. And so what does that mean? It means figuring out where you're sitting here today, who you need to be to get where you are. And you close the gap vibrationally and emotionally first. Meaning, if you have a specific goal and you say, let's say you say, you know what, I want to lose 30 pounds this year. There's a gap, right? Obviously, you're 30 pounds heavier than what you were or what you really want to be. So there's a gap. There's a 30-pound gap there. So, of course, You're going to work out, you're going to do your diet. But what you want to do first is close the gap mentally. You don't want to keep exercising saying, you know what, let me get my fat butt down here. This ain't gonna never work. I done been through this before. Close the gap. Thank you, Allah, for putting me on this healthcare journey. Thank you so much for helping me to lose this weight. I cannot wait to go shopping. Start looking at yourself, seeing yourself in your mind's eye. How you think you're gonna look at 30 pounds lighter? How you think you're gonna feel? What's it gonna feel like? How you gonna walk down the street? How you gonna put that new dress on? How you gonna be posing? How you gonna look in the face of people who you know was judging you because you was a little chunky? How's that gonna feel when you standing in front of those people like, how you like me now? How's that gonna feel? So you're closing that gap emotionally first. So now when you go to the gym, you got an emotion that is fueling and creating movement or vibration because your frequency is different, right? Whatever it is that you want, whatever it is. You know, I remember when I had a $400 car, and I remember thinking, one day I'm gonna have a garage full of cars, and this is how I'm gonna feel. I'm not even gonna drive the same car every day. I'm gonna be running around in different cars. That was just something I thought. I said, and they're gonna be all paid for. That's how I'm gonna roll. And I started seeing that in my mind's eye and feeling that in my mind's eye. And I do that with goals. I call it emotionalization before you visualize. And sometimes when you need to create that endurance, you have to have a different conversation with yourself so that you start to close the gap or create more momentum as you're closing the gap. Because that may work for the first couple months while you're working out. It might work for the first 10 pounds maybe. And then for those next 20, you got to say something else to yourself, right? But you want to close that gap. That's what that's called, closing the gap. And you do it by vibration and frequency first. And then you start to put in the work. Well, that's true with any of your goals. So don't just write down a New Year's resolution and think that and then look back in December and go, man, didn't get that done. Some of us are just transferring one resolution from year to year to year. And that's good if it's a big goal, but you want to see it. When I'm building something or working on a project, if it's construction, I see myself walking into that. I see myself picking up my check from the developing team. I see myself picking out certain colors if I'm going to different phases. So maybe I'm in the design phase and now I need to move into another phase. These are the rules of learning to build. Because if you don't learn how to build, here's what happens to a lot of people. We become very short-sighted, very pimpish, and very predatorial because the journey of building is not a part of our process. It's just, let me go get, let me go take, let me identify somebody. And as soon as we see somebody, we think about, oh, they can give me what I want, or they may be able to give me what I want. So you find yourself constantly becoming a predator, and you're going from situation to situation to situation as a predator, and you're not stopping to say, let me build something. Let me find a good space and a good place to land so that I can build something. Part of the problem is that when you're in predatory mode, you've chosen people who are around you, who you prey upon or who allow you to prey upon them, who also are probably not builders. So this is why this mindset doesn't work. When you start being pimpish and you start preying on people, 9 times out of 10, you're not in connection with somebody who is also a builder. What you want is friends, family, and people in relationship with you who are also builders. That's where the magic happens. That's where you'll start to see some supernatural things happen in your life when you're both sitting down with the same intention, or you got a group of people, you all are sitting down with the same intention upon building. Now you're firing at all cylinders. All right. So let's look at this clip, okay, from the minister, and we're going to come back and just chat about it. We can't even teach behind the minister. We're just going to chat. Brother Lamont said, you talk about those conversations with yourself in the book. That's right. And that actually is from our study guides. What conversations are you having with yourself? I asked my staff that. So I give an instruction and then you don't do it. And I said, well, what conversation were you having with yourself when you decided not to do what I asked you to do? Was the conversation, I don't feel like being bothered, or she don't know what she's talking about, or I don't want to listen to her, or I really don't know how to do it and I really don't want to ask her how to do it. I don't like her, no way. Or was it, I just don't feel like it? Or was it, nah, this is too much? What was the conversation? And so I asked that, and I know a lot of times they hate that, but I asked that question so that we can deconstruct what happened to you. Because you're sitting in front of me now, I see disappointment, I see tears. You really wanted to do it. You never came back to me to ask any questions. So my next question to you is, what was the conversation? What were you thinking? What was your thought pattern? You should dissect that. Sister said to me, oh, I like your outfit. Well, there's a conversation that goes on when we get up and put our clothes together, when we put our hair in a certain way, when we choose certain earrings. What were you thinking? What conversation did you have with yourself? And when you learn how to dissect those interpersonal conversations with self, then you can then start to flip that. And I now call them, there's conversations between me and the God within. Because the goal is, I don't want my ego to be different from the God within. I want to be able to function on that level. But that's a whole nother conversation. But the idea is, what is the conversation? What were you thinking when you designed that? What was your conversation when you're with yourself when you said that? And I always take people, when we're problem solving, through a mathematical thinking process. What's your thought process? Let's analyze it. Let's use some deductive reasoning. Let's use some clinical thinking. Because a lot of times we're out here firing off based on our emotions, and everything we're doing is very linear. Or it's so simple that a complex person sees what you're doing and you think you're being slick or creating a strategy, and you're not. You're very obvious and transparent. So the idea is to really take yourself to a deeper dimension, become very multi-dimensional, so that you're attracting and vibrationally bringing in whatever it is you want. Because at the end of the day, what you want in your bank account, what you want in your life, what you want around you is beyond your intellectual capacity. Because if all you want is what's in your intellectual capacity, then you should just go and apply for a particular job where they know, they're going to pay you $50, $60, $70, $80, $100,000 a year. But if you're talking about moving to these supernatural levels in life, you're going to have to put yourself in a supernatural situation. And the supernatural situation means that you got to move beyond your intellectual capacity into what I call, you all know this, the space of revelation, where God is saying, aha, she's free. I can use her. So let me come in and tell her to go down the road and make this turn. When I go down the road and make that turn, that's my billionaire status. That's my legacy status. Y'all feel me? Talk to me in the chat if you understand and you feeling where I'm coming from. And let's check out this. Sorry, I put it up here like this, but we're gonna look at this like 3 times just so it can sink in. And I want you to type in the chat what your thoughts are.
The race of life ain't for the swift. Excuse me for saying ain't. The race of life is not for the strong. The race of life is to the one, male or female, who can endure the process until you accomplish the goal for which God brought you out of your mother's womb and gave you life. The race of life ain't for the swift. Excuse me for saying ain't. The race of life is not for the strong. The race of life is to the one, male or female, who can endure the process until you accomplish the goal for which out of your mother's womb gave life.
Wow. Wow, wow, and wow. Let's type that into the chat. Let's see. Type that in for me, somebody. Endure the process until you accomplish the goal. And let's break that down a little bit. Endure the process until you accomplish the goal. Endure the process. Just amazing. Endure the process. I think about that and I start dissecting that. Endure the process. I think what happens to a lot of us is that we abort the process, right? Because we get tired. We can't endure it. And I'm gonna tell you what happens to us a lot of times. Thank you, Sister Aletha. I'm gonna tell you what happens to us a lot of times. We start to take score too soon. So keeping with that weight loss journey, and they tell us you weigh yourself every day. That can be quite discouraging. I think that's taking score too soon. Or as soon as we lose a couple pounds, we start comparing our bodies to the next person. You're taking score too soon. You're working on making more money, opening up your business. So now you start comparing yourself to the next person. You're taking score too soon. Somebody tells you, oh, you need to meditate every day. Then now you're like, okay, I meditated today. Now what's up? Ain't nothing happening. So every time you do something, you're looking for that immediate microwavable result. You're taking score too soon. And if you keep taking score too soon, when you see the score and the scoreboard's not changing, but you're doing the process, then another conversation starts to pop up in your head. And when that conversation pops up in your head and you're reacting to the fact that the scoreboard has not changed, then that conversation may not be all that productive. Okay? So aborting the process is one of the things that happens to a lot of us because we're so competitive. This is such a conquered person mindset, is to just always be so competitive, not realizing that there's nothing you can do to abort the blessings that God has for you other than really to just ignore them. That's kind of crazy, right? So here's the thing. And this is something I was thinking about the other day. Comparing is so dangerous. Competition is so dangerous when you're talking about this interpersonal stuff. Now you can have friendly competition with friends and family about, okay, let's see who's gonna lose 2 pounds this week, 3 pounds. That's different. But I'm talking about when we become so competitive that we're so jealous of the next person. It's like if you're not that good looking and you got to spend more time looking good. You need to know that. And you need to admit that to yourself so that you're fixing yourself up and putting certain attributes together so that you become attractive in ways that have nothing to do with your looks. Because no matter how much money you get, no matter what you do, you're not going to look like this next person that you think is so fine. See, this is what happens with these Karens out here. Yes, comparison is the thief of joy. That's exactly right. This is what happens with these Karens out here, because they're out here looking at us and comparing themselves to us. We Black women, we got genes that we were blessed with. We can be 50 years old and look 35 and function and move like a 35-year-old. That's how we are. That's how we were made. And there's nothing that you can do that can make you that, other than add some level of artificial intelligence or something like that. So stop comparing. Some people just get jealous. Like I'm 5'5". It's like me being jealous of somebody who's 6'2". Nothing I can do to be 6'2". So stop taking score about how tall you are and how tall they are, how tall you're not and how tall they are. Because all you're doing is, as Sister said, you're robbing yourself of your joy, but you're pinching yourself off from the vibration that you need in order to get you where it is that you want to go. So the process, see, by the minister saying to us, endure the process, it tells me that the process is important. And that's why we talk about process so much on these shows, because the process is important. Now, there was more to the quote, endure the process until you accomplish the goal that, and I'm paraphrasing, that God had you show up on the planet to fulfill. But you're not going to really ever know what your life goal is, your life legacy. And we have many things that Allah will assign us to do. You're never going to know that if you're aborting the process. If you're making these lists, and as you're going through the process, you bail on it, you're never going to get there. You're never going to know what did you show up on the planet to do. Because a lot of times that stuff doesn't reveal itself to you until you're way down the road in the process. Because it's almost like God wants to see if you're ready. He wants to qualify you, and he's trying to prepare you for what he has for you and for what he showed up on the planet through you for. So sometimes he has to prepare us, because we come into the world and environment adjusts us and alters us and changes us up. So he has to send us through a preparation process. And that process of preparation is a manifestation. But a lot of times we don't like that. We don't feel that. We don't understand that. So there's constantly the gap. You never get it done and you never get it right. So the idea is you want to just keep walking one foot in front of the other and being better today than you were yesterday. I'm a better person right now at 6:33 a.m. than I was at 4:45 a.m. when I woke up this morning. Why? Because I'm constantly working to figure out how I can be better, how I can improve. Not taking score. I'm not trying to figure out how I can, run some quick game on somebody. Let me try to do something crazy to, some get rich quick scheme, some quick process to do something that I say that I want. I try to respect the process, because I know my blessing is not always in the goal. It's not in those things that I write down that are in my goal. The blessing is in the process. The blessing of, like what you see going across the bottom here, is the development of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. The blessing of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad House, the blessing of the development of the House Museum is the process. I'll be blessed, of course, when it's done. I've already seen it. I've already saw myself walking through it. I've already felt myself walking through it. I've already emotionalized myself walking through it. And it's a process I take myself through every day. I take myself through the emotion. How am I going to feel when I'm walking through it? How am I going to feel when I see you all there at the gate and we come down and open up the gate and you come in and I get to show it to you? How I can make myself, right now I'm feeling it. Right now I'm in there as I'm walking. I feel it all the way. How am I going to feel when I meet you all at the gate and I say, oh, assalamu alaikum, from the sister from the Breakfast Burnout, and Brother Lamont and Sister Marva and Sister Aletha and Sister Roxanne. Well, Aletha be working there. We won't say her, but how am I going to feel when I'm greeting you all because you all came to see what I've been talking about? I already know. I already know what my body's going to feel like. I already know how my feet are going to feel on the ground. I know how my skin is going to tingle in the air. I already know how my eyes are going to look at what is there. I already know how my heart is going to receive you. So I'm already emotionalizing that. And the process of that emotionalization has been a supernatural and magical process. When I look at myself in the mirror, I'm not even the same person that I was when I first bought the house. I look much better. I'm a lot thinner. I'm a lot more spiritual, a lot more in love with the Christ. There's a lot that has changed and evolved, and I'm in love with the process. And so I enjoy the creative process because I know what it's doing. It's changing my DNA. I can feel the bones of my ancestors rattling and happy over what I'm doing. I can feel the preparation, even before I was born, of this day. I also feel how minuscule I am in comparison to the divine mind of Almighty God Allah. And in feeling that comparison, I'll give you an example of that. Have you all ever been walking through, like, y'all gonna laugh at this, but I love walking through like forest and nature. It's hard to get people to go do it with me, but I love it. Have you ever walked through forest preserves or something, and they have these ginormous trees? There's a forest preserve in Maryland that I used to go to for a spiritual retreat. And the trees, I'm going to say they're probably, in some cases, 100 feet tall. They're so big that they create like a canopy so that when you start to walk under them, they're dark. It's dark in there. So it could be completely sunny outside, but when you walk under the canopy of these trees, it just feels dark. And they're not short trees, they're big, tall trees. And one day I was walking through there. I actually wrote a poem about it. I'll have to look for it and share with you guys. And when I looked up at those trees, there was a moment where I felt the life of those trees. I felt those trees vibrating, but I also felt how small I was, or I am, in comparison to the big life of these trees. That's why whenever I see a tree get cut down, have you ever seen that when they have the timber trees, they cut them down? It's very emotional, very, very emotional to watch a big old tree just fall and hit the ground. It's emotional when after a storm, you walk through a neighborhood or drive through a neighborhood and you see all the trees that have been uprooted and have fallen. It's because the life of those trees, the history of the life of those trees, I mean, oh my God, if trees could talk, they've been here for a minute. And when you go down south, especially like in New Orleans, and you see those big, huge magnolia trees, you can just feel the life that was probably hung from those trees and the life that those trees have witnessed. And I can't help but wonder how much those trees have witnessed has influenced their shape, their size. Why is it that some of them seem to stick out and say, hey, look at me, and others are more demure and sit back? When you start to really pay attention to detail and enjoy the process of that, because part of the process for me is witnessing and becoming one with nature, you start to realize how small you are. And so you start to understand that all this taking score and all this competitiveness makes no sense. So with the Honorable Elijah Muhammad House and just going through and feeling the materials that the house was built with and that the house is made of, looking at how the sun shines on the house, I've already seen and felt how the sun will shine the week, inshallah, of our grand opening. So I'm emotionalizing my way there, and the emotionalization process is creating vibration, creating movement, making decisions, so that through the process is changing me. So just like the tree, when I wonder, because I know with myself, as I go through these kinds of processes of thinking differently, and I'm giving you these points because I'm not talking about something that's so supernatural or magical that you can't get there. When I start thinking about thoughts, change matter. And so I'm changing my thought patterns. I'm changing the conversations I have with myself. I'm working on not having a competitive spirit and taking score too soon and comparing myself. I'm focused on who do I need to be in order to attract the right people into my life and to benefit from this process. I start to think about that process, all the things that we talk about in manifestation class. I start to see and witness how I am being changed and shaped and molded. I've watched how my skin has changed, how my face has changed, how my body has changed since I've been going through this process. And I wonder about that tree. How much has that tree changed as a result of the environment and what it has experienced? The opposite is true. How much of what we don't like is a result of our thoughts, our mindset, our environment. It can be something as simple as, and I give this example all the time, when I was working on building the micro hospital, it was a very difficult process. It was a lot of pushing and fighting, and I watched myself change. I watched myself start to pick up weight because spiritually I was holding on to weight, and then my body started to hold on to weight because I was in a situation where somebody was always trying to take down the project, take from us, threatening us. So living in that, my body started to change. And one would say, well, okay, maybe you was eating too much. Maybe you didn't work out. I literally was going to CrossFit and boot camps and mud races and stuff every single day. I was working out like a mad woman, but I was holding on to this weight because it was mirroring what I was going through in my life. And so my body endured that process. And then once it was done, I was like, was able to excel. I started watching myself change. Well, interesting, each project, remember, has its own life. It has its own pattern, and it has its own vibration. As I started going through the development of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad House Museum, there was a different physical metamorphosis. So it wasn't the body responding, so let me gain weight and let me get a little tougher. And it's different. It's becoming more fluid and really trying to get into the mind of God, which is changing me. It changes how I talk, changes what I focus on. It changes who I attract in my life. It changes my attention. It changes how I wake up in the morning. It has changed who I am completely. And so what I'm saying to you all is that there are divine goals that you have that require a process that will change you into the person that you need to be in order to make that thing happen. All right, family. I hope y'all get that. Thank you again to the Final Call newspaper this week and its great publisher, the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, the Executive Council, who had a feature article and an ad put in the Final Call newspaper for us. That ad and the article was very important to me because for one thing, on a divine level, something kept telling me to push for that. But also from a strategic standpoint, because there have been so many rumors. See, part of the warfare and the process that sometimes you have to go through with these projects is the naysayers and their rumors. And a lot of people say, well, you don't want to focus on that, but sometimes you have to figure out how to strategize around it. And for me, there have been so many rumors that the project was some illegitimate project, that the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan didn't support the project, that the Executive Council didn't support the project. And all the while, I'm knowing that this stuff is not true, but I'm watching my warm market. You know, in sales, you have a warm market and a cold market. And I market to both, but the warm market, you place a certain amount of emphasis on. I'm watching my warm market ask me these same questions over and over and over again. And I just thought, wow, so that something small like that little ad going in there says, all right, check mark, naysayer, next, find something else, because this is a process that we're going through. And the idea is to just, well, I won't give that part away, but the point is, you're going to have naysayers. You're going to have people who see you doing something great. I go back to just about any project that I've been on, and I've been on a lot of projects. I started out my independent career in the entertainment industry, doing royalty audits and ticket audits and show and event planning and development and business development for a lot of artists and selling distribution. And even in that process, you're selling something to somebody that's going to change their life, but there was always naysayers. And so I learned that pretty early on, that it's not just limited to high school where you got jealous girls and boys. It's not just limited to certain family situations where there's competitiveness, maybe between siblings or other cousins or whatever. But it's also when you're looking to do something good, there's always something that pops up that requires you to change. You have to make a decision. You got to get used to making tough decisions, but you're going to have to make that tough decision, which then is going to change you into somebody else. That process, you have to endure the process, that process of becoming. It's like Michelle Obama's book title, right? Becoming. There's a process of becoming. All right. Okay, y'all. Don't forget, our new show time for the Mind of an Entrepreneur show is now Thursdays, 7 p.m. Central Time. I don't know who our guest is next week. I'll find out from my show coordinator, but just tune in. It's always good by the grace of Allah. This week was really good. We had Sister Sajdah Muhammad on, and she was talking to us about all the illegal stuff that they do in nail shops to us, like putting cheese graters to our feet. We thought that was a new process of getting the skin off, but it's really something that ain't even legal. So she did a great job at showing us just some of those things and pointing out some of the differences in that we can create when we begin to open up our own space. And that space, as you all know, is very intriguing to me. Let me just give y'all this one example and show you how Allah works. In 2005, I was taking some graduate, was this 2005? No. Maybe before then. Early 2000s, earlier in the 2000s. I was taking some graduate level classes, and we had to write like a thesis on a business that we wanted to start. And I wrote mine on a medical spa that had massage and a lot of other different therapies in it that was wellness related, maintenance, pampering, that kind of thing. And so I wrote up this big, beautiful spa. And I remember the colors like mint green and frosty green. And so I wrote that whole thing up, put everything together. And I remember the professor, when I turned it in, saying, wow, it's like you really built this business, right? Because it wasn't just theory. I had processes, I had all the businesses, I had my margins together. And so later, when I fast forward and ended up becoming a Massage Envy franchisee, by humbug to the pandemic, because that really I think I got out right before it just dealt the death blow to us. But I'll talk more about that in a minute. But I was nominated for Franchisee of the Year 3 or 4 years in a row. And I knew it was because I saw things differently. I had already built a spa in my mind. Now, and this is a lesson for you all, when I decided to become a part of a franchise, I knew that the money and the margins was really tight, because there's a certain amount that you got to pay your therapist, especially if you want really good therapists. And then there's a certain amount that you charge, and you're limited with those charges when you have a franchise, because they tell you, you can only charge $90 a session. You may be paying your therapist $35. You got a small little margin there, and you got your overhead and all of that other kind of stuff. But I always wanted to introduce different products to people that would make a difference in their beauty experience, both for men and women. Y'all know me, I always got to go for the brothers. I did this whole barbershop tour where I went around to the different barbershops and got the brothers to come in and do some pampering. And so that was just really rewarding, because a lot of them had never had facials before, or men now I think are into pedicures and manicures, but in terms of like just facials, and even if they have no hair on their head, just making sure that they know how to take care of their skin, and really just pampering these brothers who were just in the battle every single day was wonderful. But it helped enhance the sales of the spa. I felt very restricted with the franchise, but I wanted to learn from I wanted to benefit from the research, right, of a company who had already spent millions of dollars figuring out what worked best. And so now that I know those rules, I'm looking forward to designing and combining now all of what I know, including what I know from the healthcare space and developing that into putting together a beautiful wellness center and medical spa, inshallah, somewhere here in Chicago sometime soon. So the idea behind that, and I don't know why I'm talking about this, but the idea behind that was to just learn and leverage all of that stuff. Yeah, I'm talking about it because Sister Latasha, I was thinking about her salon, and I'm interested so much in that field, because just on a broader scale is something that I'm working on doing in addition to another medical facility. So anyway, y'all, at this point now I'm rambling. I hope you all enjoyed our coffee talk today. Let me know in the chat if you enjoyed the talk. I appreciate you all. The idea, again, is to remember the process and to remember how important the process is. Okay? Let me know in the chat. Otherwise, I'm going to have you guys do something nice for somebody today. Let's do something nice for somebody today. Bless yourself by blessing someone else. That doesn't always mean money. It might just mean a phone call to say some encouraging words. It might mean smiling at somebody, holding the door open for somebody, paying for somebody's groceries. I did that the other day. I was at the grocery store. There was a woman with 2 children who was ahead of me. And I saw her paying with her groceries, and I just told the person, I said, I'm going to pay for her groceries today. So sometimes we have to pay niceness out into the universe just to bless someone. And I just want to do that. So think about that. And I'm not talking about somebody that you know. At times we all do stuff nice for somebody that we know. We do nice things for our brothers, our sisters, our mothers, whatever. But I'm talking about do something nice for somebody you don't even know. Pay it forward. All right. Thank you so much. The Breakout from Burnout Brett podcast says, I very much enjoyed it. Thank you so much. Breakout from Burnout. All right. Okay. So anyway, y'all, peace and blessings. Please make sure if you have not, go out and get your commemorative Elijah coin. Make a donation. Y'all know I tell y'all, I haven't told y'all in a while not to be chipping and dipping me because I know I try my best to give out some good information. I try my best to make sure that you all are rewarded for coming over to the show by sharing something with you that maybe you didn't know, or that is just going to be an additional chink in your armor to help you move to that next level. So don't chip and dip me. Y'all see the Cash App going across the bottom, $Mo today, MOETODAY. Go over there, make a donation, $10, $15, $100, $1,000, but learn to give when you're in need. This is a real key trick to manifesting. When you're in need, give. I'm not saying give away the farm to the point where you can't pay your own bills and give away all the money, all the church's money. But find a way to give. Find a way to reverse that energy that is an energy of subtraction and turn it into an energy of addition. Because the energy of addition is what's going to bring more, is going to add more to your life. So, all right, family, get your coin, make that donation, and I'll see you all, inshallah, on Thursday. We may come back and do some lives. But peace and blessings. Make sure you like and subscribe to the page. Make sure you go to Roku and add The Mind of an Entrepreneur to your Roku show, Roku TV lineup. All right. Peace and blessings, family. Love you all. Do something nice for somebody today.
To share with you some of the magnificent and triumphant teachings of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. When we say magnificent and triumphant teachings, these two words, magnificent and triumphant, are adjectives that describe the teaching of Elijah Muhammad. That which is magnificent is that which is supremely great. That which is triumphant is that which is powerful enough to overcome obstacles. Think of it, black man and woman. There is a teaching in America for you that is supremely great, meaning that it is a teaching above all other teachings that have ever entered the ears of a black man and woman.